Hi everyone, and welcome back. We are heading into episode 7 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 1. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, not only to my channel, but Jeanet's channel as well. I will, as usual, leave our socials so that you can click them. You can go and follow us. Also, our Patreons, if you're interested in any of the shows. Good Omens is on Jeanet's channel. So if you are really interested in that, please go over to her YouTube channel and onto Patreon. And without further ado, let's get into episode 7. As you do as a kid, throw stones into a pool of blood.
Zachary didn't return from the hunt last night. Still, the Slayer takes him.
I mean, she's a
She has
Slayer.
taken so many of my family.
I mean, you gouged someone's eyes out. I don't know if you do consider them family.
I'd annihilator.
Out of the mouths of babes,
Let me do it, Master. Let me kill her for you.
send the 3.
The 3.
Feels very Terminator right now.
That boy's voice sounded too deep for his age, but I'm
Yeah,
guessing that was
yeah.
maybe part of the point.
What's it like where you are?
That's a good question.
Sorry, I was just thinking about things. So we're talking about a guy? What about Angel?
Angel? To see him in a relationship. Hi, honey, you're in grave danger. I'll see you next month.
Oh, that's hilarious. I could picture it.
It's like the lights dim everywhere else. You know how it's like that with some guys?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she does. There's the guy.
I really hope she gets a good partner at some point, because I just don't see it working out with her and Xander.
Getting off the dance floor before any biggest boyfriend squashes you like a bug?
Oh, so you noticed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, thanks for being so understanding.
Sure.
You know, hey, I don't know what everyone's talking about. That outfit doesn't make you look like a hooker.
Good comeback, Xander.
Yes, he's getting better at these.
Just sitting here watching our barren lives pass us by.
Oh goodness, you're way too young to be having existential crises.
Well, that's...
Dude, creepy stalker vibes. Interesting.
I
Can you
love how
imagine
you can hear the
him-
audience in the background, like, dance.
But it's so funny, like, could you imagine if he wasn't supernatural, him just like ducking down behind the stairs? and
Behind
wanted
the
to, like,
stairs, sorry.
It's late, I'm tired, and I don't want to play games.
And it's Angel, so... Oh, maybe not. Oh,
Yeah, it's definitely not Angel.
Okay, nice. Okay, look, I really don't want to fight all 3 of you, unless I have to.
the sound effects are just spectacular, but this is not going well.
Good dogs. Don't.
Well, it's a really good thing that Angel does, like, slink about.
Yeah, and very clearly is a... What was that?
That was a bar.
Yeah, no, but there was a sound effect that seemed to imply that something weird had happened. Sorry, maybe
Oh,
I heard wrong.
he sliced Angel with the bar.
Okay. Are we getting a Hurt Comforts episode? That's a hand.
Yep, look at the nails on them.
This is one of my, like, favorites.
Come in unless it's invited.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite vampire rules.
Any chance they could get David topless?
Well, that's a tattoo to go and look at it in the encyclopedias later.
So, you weren't following me? I just had this feeling you were.
Why would I do that?
Oh, well, can you imagine her mom walking in? She would not be impressed.
Yeah, because Buffy is 16.
Hi, what are you doing? There's a lot of weird people outside at night. I just feel better with you safe and sound inside. Upstairs and get into bed, and I can bring you some hot
You're
tea.
acting suspicious.
Sweet.
What'd you do?
Can a daughter just be concerned about her mother?
No.
Hi.
Oh, great. Angel, you were supposed to stay hidden.
Yeah, as if he was going to do that.
First year community college, Angel's been helping me with my history. You know, I've been toiling there.
It's a little late for tutoring.
Buffy's ability to not lie. Well,
Yeah. At least she has like one legitimate weakness in that regard.
Good night. We'll hook up soon and do that study thing.
But
just the look on his face. Also, you would be able to hear like 2 pairs of feet going upstairs.
You know, I'm the chosen one. It's my job to fight guys like that. What's your excuse?
Somebody has to.
Well, what does your family think of your career choice?
They're dead.
does he have a family? Dead. Okay.
Sleep tight.
Don't let the bedbugs bite. That's quite a nice shot.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that it's more or less dark.
Wake up and smell the seduction. It's the oldest trick in the book.
What? Saving my life? Getting slashed in the ribs?
Duh.
Yeah.
I mean, guys.
Duh.
Can we steer this riveting conversation back to the events that happened?
Girls is
earlier
me.
in the evening?
I appreciate the resigned older person in the room.
Yeah. What's with the uniforms?
It seems that you encountered the 3 warrior vampires. Very proud and very strong.
How is it you always know this stuff?
Because it's his job.
And now our lives belong to you. With power comes responsibility. True, they did fail, but also true. We who walk at night share a common bond.
So you would spare them?
Ah!
I am weary, and their deaths will bring me little joy. Of course, sometimes a little is enough.
Sometimes. Sometimes.
Yes, but of course they're family, you know.
About that. We'll go.
You have to wonder about how much training he's had to go through. He's a human, Buffy. Calm down.
Face.
Not just a bag of vegetables.
So,
Is there cheese in there?
I read a little.
I hope for his sake it is.
can mean a lot of things, bad things. And when it says that your eyes are penetrating, I meant to write bulgy.
Buffy.
And A doesn't even stand for angel.
Almost.
It stands for Ahmed, a charming foreign exchange student.
Mother moved your diary when she came in to straighten up. I watched her from the closet. I didn't read it, I swear.
Which is such a weird sentence.
That's even worse.
Oh, water. Over the bridge.
All I can ever
Under
think
the
about
bridge.
is how
Under
badly I
the
want
bridge.
to kiss you.
Kiss me.
I'm older than you, and this can't ever.
How old was he here?
How much?
Watching you right now is so much fun.
I should.
Go.
The worst part is I know that if I was younger, I would be shipping this.
Yeah, I did mention that when I said I was younger, what it was like.
It doesn't help the fact that he's like... Oh, that's interesting. Oh no, he's the original vampire boyfriend. Oh, but... Oh, okay.
Power isn't a person at all. It may have the movements, the memories, even the personality of the person that it took over, but it's still a demon at the core. There is no halfway.
All right.
No,
You have a
Xander.
problem, and it's not a small one. Let's take a breath and look at this calmly and objectively.
Xander.
Angel's a vampire. You're a slayer. Yeah, I know you have feelings for this guy, but it's not like you're in love with him, right? You're in love with a vampire? What, are you out of your mind?
What?
Calm down. You were eating a pig an episode ago.
Where did you get that dress? This is a one-of-a-kind Todd Oldham. Do you know how much this dress cost? Is this a knockoff? This is a knockoff.
That's Cordelia for you.
Who's here?
A friend.
Great. The other person who can
It's been a
shift her
while.
face.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I saw you was kimonos.
And last time I saw you, it
That's
was
quite a
high
while
school
ago.
girls. Don't you like?
With yourself.
Is there anything better than a natural disaster?
Oh, that's true for a vampire. That would be good.
Yeah, and they could just eat undetected.
Guess what, Precious? You're not one of them.
That is true. But also, I'd rather be above ground than in the sewers.
But I'm not exactly one of you either.
Is that what you tell yourself these days? You can only suppress your real nature for so long. I can feel it brewing inside of you.
Yes.
I hope I'm around when it explodes.
Here's something at last.
Can you please warn us before you do that?
There's nothing about...
You faced vampires and yet he gave you a jump scare.
Must have been so embarrassing when you thought he had read your diary, but then it turned out he hadn't, but then he felt the same way.
Willow, not right now.
There's mentioned some 200 years ago in Ireland.
At least she's consistent.
She's also a teenager.
This angel have a tattoo behind his right shoulder.
Yeah, it's a bird or something.
Now I'm saying something. You saw him naked? So
No.
Angelus leaves Ireland, wreaks havoc in Europe for several decades, and then about 80 years ago, the most curious thing happens.
So before he came to our shores, what was he like then?
Like all of them, a vicious, violent animal.
How can my children learn if I do everything for them?
But you've got to let me take care of
I
it.
mean, they need to be alive
You're
first.
giving me orders.
Angel kills her and comes back to the fold.
Angel. He was the most vicious creature I ever met. I miss him. You see
Ooh.
how we all work together for the common good? That's how a family is supposed to
Common good of you?
Okay, so let's
Yeah, well, yeah, the three wasn't his family. You know, Darla's his family. See, come together with the family.
What do you want, Xander? You've got to speak up, girl.
No. No speaking up. That way leads to madness and sweaty palms. Okay, so
Oh my word, she's just looming there and they don't even notice. I'm intrigued to see if she's going to become a permanent threat or just a season 1 threat.
Their traditional creaking noise.
You go the other direction of the noise. Okay, so... Yeah, but she wasn't invited into...
Hello?
Hi, I'm Darla, a friend of Buffy's.
Oh, nice to meet you.
She is. Willow's the Civil War expert, but then I was supposed to help her with the War of Independence. My family kind of goes back to those days.
Well, I know she's supposed to be home soon. Would you like to come in and wait? Would you like something to eat?
Yes, I would.
I did not have her mother dying on my bingo card for season 1.
Given this
I
bingo
hope
card, I
that,
need to know what this bingo card is.
Aren't you hungry for something warm after all this time?
Oh.
Come on, Angel.
I didn't think about the temptation. The problem now is that if she leaves,
Uh-huh.
then it's gonna look like Angel did it to her mother.
I'm home.
Oopsie.
Do you remember anything, Mom?
Just, your friend came over. I was gonna make a snack.
I wish she would classify the fact that the friend was not Angel.
Why, the teachers really do care in this town.
No.
Get some rest now.
Just Giles.
I think this is going to take more than a simple steak.
So do I.
I was waiting
The
for that crossbow
crossbow.
time.
Did you think she would understand? She would
I
look at your
mean,
face,
it's your
look at your
fault.
face, and give you a
All right.
Oh, please don't kiss
When do you
him
want
right
it?
now.
I want it finished.
That's good. You're hurting me. That's good too.
Oh, their relationship seems like a toxic
Ah.
mess, but okay.
I mean, you can gather what their relationship was like just from that moment.
It's about you all the time. It's important to have teachers who make an impression.
She makes quite an impression herself.
I know she's having trouble with history. She's studying with Willow. She's studying with Darla. I mean, she is trying.
Darla, I don't believe I know.
Her friend, the one who came over tonight.
Uh-huh.
I'll do it.
That school is amazing.
I know what you are.
Do you? I'm just an animal, right?
You're not an animal. Animals I like.
Oh.
That's rude. Oh, they're here because they're fumigating. I forgot.
Thank you, roaches.
I think they only had like a set number of sets.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
it works.
I invited you into my home and then you attacked my
It's the opposite
family.
of
Why
simple.
not? I killed mine. I killed their friends. And their friends' children.
What changed?
Fed on a girl about your age. Beautiful. Dumb as a post. The elders conjured the perfect punishment for me. They restored my soul.
What, they were all out of boils and blinding torment?
When you become a vampire, the demon takes your body, but it doesn't get your soul.
Yep.
That's gone. No conscience, no remorse. It's an easy way to live.
And suddenly have a conscience again.
Not as easy as it looks. Sure it is.
Went from like a high school student to teacher in like 2 seconds, and I don't know why.
You know what the saddest thing in the world is? That hair on top of that outfit. You're older than him, right? Just between us girls, you are looking a little worn around the eyes.
Buffy, jealousy is not a good look.
Scary. Scarier.
So, oh, that's
But no cigar.
Close, but no heart.
has to be at the heart,
Yeah.
but it's a steak.
It still has to puncture the heart. Nice.
Oh, that's a Kill Bill reference, but I think that might have been before Kill Bill.
This was a few years before Kill Bill.
Come on, Buffy. Take it like a man.
There you go.
Oh.
Angel.
Are you angry?
She was weak. Don't need her. I'll bring you the Slayer. They're all against you. But soon
You
you
need
shall
to be
rise.
very careful, Mr. Master, because it seems like you might be nurturing someone who's going to overthrow you.
It's weird, though. In his way, I feel like he's still watching me.
Well, in a way he sort of is. In the way of that he's right over there.
Once again in the shadows.
I just wanted to see if you were okay, Mother.
We're both good.
This can't.
Ever be anything. I know. For one thing, you're like 224 years older than I am.
Thank you for acknowledging that. If it's going to mean anything is a different question. Oh goodness, they're going to kiss again, aren't they?
The music to this goes so well.
What's going on?
exactly.
No, you don't want to
As
know.
long as they're not kissing.
You're really bad at lying.
I mean, she didn't actually say anything, but Xander's so
Her
unaware,
face said it
really.
all.
Painful. I know.
Oi.
Okay, that was episode 7, and the title
Mm.
was Angel.
I mean, I actually kind of would have guessed that because it's,
I mean, that's who it was about.
yeah.
What did you... This was, I would say, considered one of a fan favorite episode. A lot of people love this episode. What did you think of the episode?
I think it might have been one of my favorites. But not for the romance as such.
That's
Like,
fine. I mean, that's
like
understandable.
it's difficult because like I have this kind of dissonance that I often find myself having with characters where the one is like significantly older than the other, but then I know that the actors hopefully at least are like both not the age that they're portraying. You
No,
know.
both of them were technically not. Sarah Michelle Gellar, by the time this came out, would have been around, or at least coming up to being 20. If this is 1997, she would have been celebrating her 20th birthday, and David Boreanaz is born in 1969, so he would have been coming up to celebrate his 28th birthday at this point.
Yeah, which I mean, it's still a big age gap, but it's above the legal age of consent, which is the main thing. That's what throws me off here. But so there's always kind of that cognitive dissonance for me with that, but also the fact that they have really good chemistry.
Yeah.
And you know, it was what I really liked about it was the fact that this is the first time that we're really seeing Buffy grapple with the morals of like, okay, so not all vampires are bad. This is not as black and white as we've been led to believe up until this point. And it was just, yeah, it was just very nice to see how that was handled. I felt like all the kind of like red herrings from their perspective was really nicely done. The bit with Darla and everything like that. Like it was pretty by the book, but it had a nice pace, and I don't know, it was just a fun episode.
I felt this fleshed out Angel very well as a
Yes.
character, because you got the mystery side at the beginning, and then the mystery of the tattoo, because that intrigued you, which I think intrigues a lot of people, because obviously you're seeing something on someone that clearly means something, that eventually you find out what it means. Then we have the revelation that he is a vampire. So finally you have that mystery of why he is so mysterious, and who or what he is finally answered for everyone. You have 6 previous episodes where you're curious, what actually is Angel? And then we have the reveal that him and Darla were together a very long time, and as Darla says, she made him. So that was very important, because then you realize the bond they share, and that's why she's also so upset that he's in love with Buffy, because she clearly wasn't, well, whatever form of love a vampire can have without a soul.
Yeah.
And then the whole shock of, you know, Darla dying and him killing his family, when he says he killed his family, his parents' friends, their children. It shows you, or at least gives you an idea of how dangerous Angelus was, because even the master says he was my most vicious pet. You know, there was once again that reference to a pet. We heard, you know, about a dog.
Yeah.
There's this instance of a pets, and I feel like that's a running theme as well in this episode.
Yeah, and it was what I liked about it. It wasn't just this thing of, oh, he grew a conscience, or oh, he's always just been magically good, or anything like that. Like, no, he was horrible, and it's not shied away from how horrible he was. But then once he got basically his conscience back because of outside intervention, he had to live with everything that he done, which is an interesting thought.
Also,
So
it means that it's not him trying to be good for the sake of being good. It was
yeah,
forced upon him, which I really like, because it lets you know that this is not who he is really. Like, he just had the soul put back in. So the demon has something kind of caging it within, because
yeah,
obviously it has a conscience. And I like that because also it changes everything, because it makes him so different to every other vampire we've had so far.
yeah.
And
But I mean, it's also, it's kind of that thing of, on the one hand, he wasn't given a choice of being good, but it shows you that probably the human side of him was not naturally vicious, because otherwise, if he had that inclination, he probably would have just kept on going, because he'd already done all this damage. So it just, sunk cost fallacy, just keep going.
mm,
So there's just a lot of interesting things to unpack with that.
did you find it interesting? We got introduced to the three, and they come across as this supposed big threat, and Buffy and Angel took them out so easily, and in the end, Darla dusted them. I like that
Yeah.
subversion where they introduce them as these big threats, and then they're out within what, the first 10 minutes of the show, even not even that.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't as surprised by it as I otherwise would be, and I think the only reason why I wasn't as surprised by it was because um I think maybe I'm misremembering now, but we got them failing at doing the thing, and then we got the reveal that Angel was a vampire. So it became very clear to me that they weren't going to be the focus of the episode. So
Yeah.
whether or not they die was kind of irrelevant to what story was actually being told.
My point was, I like that they were introduced as the supposed big bads when they clearly weren't, but also just how easily they were taken out. These are three vampires that have a reputation. Because as soon as people heard the three, Darla herself got really excited. So clearly they succeed usually, but we don't know if, when one dies, another comes, or if these are the three that have been around for so long. But the fact that they went out so easily, I also think
Yeah.
was a great nod to show that things will exceed your expectations or turn them, because you don't know what's going to happen. So that's something really good about the writing, which is you just don't know what twists and turns are around the corner. And I appreciate that, because it means you, as much as you think you might know the narrative of where something is going, you won't know every detail in an episode of where
Yeah.
something goes.
But I have to kind of argue a little bit there in a way, because what I actually liked about the moment that the three came is, even though obviously they were the big bad that then quickly got taken care of, they weren't taken care of by Buffy alone.
Hello.
So I felt like that was a nice juxtaposition to what had been built up until this point, where it's like, okay, no, even though she is seriously tough, she's improving every single day, she still has serious threats that could potentially harm her if she goes at this alone every single time. So it was, to me, a nice break from the thing of her easily being able to defeat some
Yeah.
other vampires in a way, that she needed Angel's help.
Do you think that possibly goes with the whole thing of a Slayer having friends and family, which we heard was new? In this case, it shows that without them, she possibly could have died, or in this instance, without Angel. But also, do you think it was possibly to lull the audience into the full sense of security when it comes to Angel before the big reveal of him being a vampire? Because obviously he helps her fight the three and escape from them.
I hadn't perceived it as such, but it's possible.
It just came into my head now as you were saying that, because I thought,
Yeah.
there are two instances you brought up that I thought, the friends and family aspect, and her being alone,
Yeah.
which would have meant she would probably have died because they were about to bite her. And then the
Yeah.
fact that Angel comes, he's mysterious, he helps save her, and then at this, like halfway through, big reveal, vampire. And I felt like that's a mechanism to lull the audience into thinking, oh, he can't be the bad guy because he is here to help her, and he helped her. And then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, is he a bad guy because he's a vampire? Because that's all we've known so far, that vampires are bad. And then to reveal the soul. I feel like there was a lot of roller coaster moments when it came to Angel and the audience and how they would perceive him.
That's very interesting. Like, because I didn't really see him as a threat throughout the episode because it was so clear that he could have done something earlier. So it is kind of interesting how they handled him. One thing I do wonder now, and maybe it's something that's never answered, but like a part of me wonders if he was, because he's like 200 years old, and they do say that there's only one Slayer per like lifetime, basically. So I did wonder if maybe he was a Slayer or at some point, or if like what happens if you are a Slayer and you're you are bitten and transformed into a vampire. Like, is there some kind of safeguard that keeps your body from becoming a regular vampire,
I think
or
these are really good
is
questions.
so it's because it's interesting, because you would expect that for Slayers who are constantly facing vampires and have that level of dangerousness, like, do they just assume that Slayers will die without like reciprocating the blood drinking? Like, you're that kind of loyal person, you're never gonna get lured over to the dark side, or is there some kind of safeguard to prevent Slayers from becoming puppets or vampires?
I think these are really good questions as well, and a lot of good theories, because it is very thought-provoking. And I like that you've got all of these theories and thoughts going through your mind, because it means you're actively aware and conscious of what you're watching. Because these are very, very good questions. Because you want them what they are. You are, because I feel like I would have said the same thing. Obviously, not the first time I watched it, because I was so young and I was so enamored at that point by Buffy and Angel. Like, I have to admit, the last scene got me again. I was so intrigued. I forgot how good the chemistry is, because he's
Yeah.
only appeared here and there. I wouldn't say the chemistry has captivated me that much until that moment. And then they were doing
Yeah,
that
no,
scene, and they
very
were doing,
strong.
I guess, what you call beauty/glamour shots, where it's their face and it's a bit brighter, and you like see like the eyes shine and glisten. It's what I guess a medium close up, because it's not an extreme close up. But yeah, in those moments, they're really captivated, and I was watching it going, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be reacting right now. I was completely lost in the chemistry of those two in that moment. But something that I did, and I don't know, maybe this is the moment I said that you would go, oh, I spoke about Buffy and Angel in the last episode we watched. And just so the audience knows, this is the second episode we're watching this week. It will go back to one a week, but we're hoping to now get a bit ahead. But I almost gave it away to you when I was speaking to you earlier in the week, when I said I really like Buffy and Angel, but, and then I was about to start speaking about their ages, and I had to stop myself, because I was about to say to you, because he is over 200. Well, I was going to say he's a lot older than her, and that would have given away quite easily that possibly he was a vampire, because that was even as a kid, that was the biggest issue I always had with their characters, was this age thing. So even, and obviously as I've gotten older, it's still there, but even as a very young child, that really was the kind of factor that, as much as I loved it, and I did get hooked on them, because it's the teen drama aspect of it, but I was always subconsciously in the back of my head going, but he is so much older than her. And I think that's something that you were really aware of as well while we were watching this.
I feel like at this age, I can't help but be aware of it. Whereas like
Exactly.
if I was a teenager, I mean, it would not be an issue.
But that's what I was really
But
happy about, because having you view it now as an adult is so intriguing, because I viewed it as a kid, and then how much has changed over time, and things you realize and things you take notice of. And that was something for me that I did. That it's not the only show, by the way. I am also watching Dawson's Creek right now.
Oh.
And there's an issue in season 1 with ages that when I was younger, no problem with. And it depends on if you ever want to watch the show, so I won't give it away. If you don't ever want to watch it, I could tell you, but we could do that off here. But I was just saying, like, there are things like that that with Buffy, like, changes over time, and because you're watching it through fresh eyes, but as an adult, it's interesting the takes you take away from it, and the age is obviously a very important one, I feel, because even Buffy brings it up.
Yeah, and I appreciate when the shows have that kind of self-awareness. It doesn't make it okay, but it does make it feel a little bit like they're not ignoring the issue, you know. So that's appreciated. But one thing that I also wanted to mention, oh, by the way, I didn't think if you even if you had mentioned he's a lot older, I probably would have just been like, yeah, he's in his 20s, or he's a supernatural creature. I'm like, I was pretty convinced he was some kind of supernatural creature,
But
even
would
if
you
I
expect
wasn't
him
sure
vampire?
what. No, no, no. No, I was thinking, I'm not even, I couldn't tell you what I was thinking. I was just like some kind of supernatural entity
I gathered by your
that
reaction,
probably had a.
because when you saw he was a vampire, you kind of went, ah, oh yeah, supernatural. I was expecting a bit more of a reaction, but then I was thinking, but she has from the beginning suspected that he's not human. Or he is something supernatural. So then I was like, oh yeah, of course she's not going to have a more visceral reaction, because already she's going, yeah, I know there's something about here. Like, it's a very simple narrative. Like, these aren't hard things to pick up on, especially as people who are in the industry. So we know, like, the little, like, plot points that are going to come up. So it's interesting as well, reacting with someone who also knows about these and who is in the industry as well, who can go, I know exactly where this is going to go. Or, okay, it makes sense why they did this, and then obviously you explain it. And I just thought that was really interesting, because I was like, okay, because, you know, it is the big reveal moment, but you also did already have an idea that he was supernatural.
Yeah, I did like the fact that it was a vampire thing, because I feel like, again, it's such a nice juxtaposition with what we've been told up until this
Yeah.
point. But one thing that I also really want to give the actor credit for in this, and I don't know if I'm overthinking it and maybe giving him too much credit, but I at this point don't know if vampires can cry. It seems like it would be unlikely. So it was very nice for me that when he was talking about his like killing his family and everything like that, you could see the sheen in his eyes, but there were no actual tears. And I felt that was so nicely done.
See, it's hard when I see that, just because I'm so used to knowing that there's a big light above them. So whenever I watch shows, I can see, like, they always have that, like, 3 rings in their eyes, if you look, which, you know, you don't have in real life without a big light.
Yeah.
That's a good point to bring up about the almost crying, but can they cry? Because obviously, again, they are undead. So what can they do? But obviously, this is also a show, and sometimes you have to suspend disbelief, such as you can hear him breathe at points, and it could be heavy breathing, and
Oh,
that's
yeah, I know.
and but things like that, and like tears as well when you
Yeah.
brought it up. But yeah, I actually really liked what you said, like, what he did there when he explained about the situation with his family. It kind of sends a chill down your spine, because Angel hasn't been presented as such a dangerous creature, but throughout this whole episode, all people did really was mention how dangerous Angelus was. Like, Darla was so excited to have him back, the Master was, then his explanation of killing everyone, and it lets us, as the audience, remember, of course, he's still a vampire, because you do get hooked on the fact that he is different, he has a soul, but then you have to remember what he was like previously. But also for Buffy as well to understand, as much as she's got this fairy tale of him, he's still a threat at the end of the day. Like, when it comes to it, he's still a vampire, and there's that fight of, well, what do I do? Because I am a slayer, it's my duty, but I'm also, because apparently everyone falls in love very easily in any teen or any show throughout the history of time, but she's in love with him. And I thought that was really smartly done, especially because she's 16.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're not looking
Yeah.
at a full-grown adult deciding these things, we're looking
Yeah.
at a young teen.
Yeah, like I feel like she's very mature for her age in a way where at least she's very self-aware, you know. Like, it's not that she thinks, okay, she's capable of making adult decisions in an
Yeah.
adult way. She's just very like, okay, this is a boundary that I don't trust myself with. We need to
Yeah.
make sure it doesn't become an issue.
That's a really good point. It is, because but that also I think plays into what I was saying, like what you're saying as well, is she is very mature in a lot of aspects, but she also isn't. Like, she still does the teen thing. You know, she's very much, the world will end without you. You know, there's the drama, which I don't know about you, but I definitely had that as a teen. Because when you're a teen, everything is so dramatic. You know, you think you're in love with someone, or you like this person, you like that person, or the world will end if you can't go out, or if you don't get whatever someone, I don't know, whatever people like. I don't know, something. But and I like that because, you know, it was such interesting because we had Willow, who was being such a good friend and, you know, just a typical teen herself, and talking about, because obviously she likes Xander, and then Xander's over jealous nature, trying to be like, oh, this can't look,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to kill him, and his excitement, as you noticed, because I could hear you, about him wanting Angel to die. But it's one of these things where he has no attachment. You know, he has no
Yeah.
emotional attachment towards Angel, plus he doesn't like him. So as an audience, it is frustrating when you see Xander in this moment for me, because I'm going, oh, I see what they're doing with his character in terms of writing, and I think it's a little bit of a flaw, which is, yes, we know he likes Buffy, but sometimes they harper too much on the Angel and Xander moments. But I've only noticed this, like, really, as it's getting into the halfway point. But because before it was kind of, you know, he would make a comment here and there, but he had his own stuff going on. But because he don't he doesn't have his own story in this particular moment, it's really hyper aware for me how much he goes on about Angel.
That's so interesting because I was being very generous with him in this episode. I
You were,
I
you
thought it
were.
was like I thought it was actually quite nice that he, and maybe it's just because I've seen so many worse uh people portrayed in
Yes,
more recent
yeah.
media,
Oh, yes,
but
true, true.
but
I've
like
seen
for
the
me,
shows
I
you've
was like,
watched.
I'm so glad that he's not actively sabotaging them. Like, you know how some people, when they like someone, they can get genuinely mean-spirited. Whereas
Yeah.
I feel like everything that he does, like, he obviously it is a bit self-serving because he does like Buffy and there's no taking away from that. But I know or at least expect that at the heart of it, if it's all for Buffy's own good, you know,
Mm.
he's not, if he genuinely felt like, okay, no, they need to be together, this is important, that like there's no misunderstanding between them, I believe he would help them communicate if it was necessary, you know, things like that. I don't think he would actively put her in danger or like things, you know, just
Hmm.
to, okay, maybe I don't know, because you have 6 other seasons to work with
No,
in
no, it
terms of
wasn't about the other
knowledge.
seasons. It wasn't about the
But
other season. I was intrigued by you saying, because there were elements I agree with what you're saying. Definitely elements. I don't know if he would actively like help them get together. I think he would
no,
kind of
no, no,
be sarcastic in the background.
no, definitely. But I think I'm not phrasing it well. It's more like I think he's very focused on whatever is best for Buffy. So if for whatever reason at some point he needed to help Angel,
Oh yeah, then he
he
would, for
would.
Buffy's sake.
If it's,
Yes, yes, yes.
you know, if
Yes,
if
I
it's for
believe that. I
Buffy's
believe he
sake. So
would. Yeah.
that's what I meant. Sorry, not like get together that way.
No, I completely agree with that. I mean, if it was to help Buffy, just like if it was to help Willow, he would go out of his way. He would. As much as it would pain Xander, I think at this point, I think he would though, because they're still his friends. And you know,
Yeah.
and that's, I think, a very important part of the show as well, is their friendship. From what the few
Yeah.
episodes we've seen, where you've pointed it out quite nicely, that you can tell they're really good friends, and how even though they haven't known each other a very long time, they feel like they have, by the way they communicate, the
Yeah.
way they talk, the things that go on. And that is something I appreciate, because again, because it's such a small season compared to the rest, obviously they have to jam pack in those moments, but I don't think they do. To me, it feels very natural, because we're not really
Yeah.
given how much time has passed. We know it's you know, she starts the school year, so she probably starts around January, because I don't think she started the right at the beginning of the school year. By the feel of
Yeah.
it, it feels like she probably started in January. That they've probably only known each other 4 or 5 months, maybe not even that at this point, because obviously I think in the US they finish because they have 3 months holiday, something like that.
Yeah,
So
they finish
probably
in
May or
June.
June. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is probably around, I guess, March, April, maybe. So about that, but you never know the actual time period. But it's the acting is so well done that you forget about those moments. You have to really think about it and take yourself out to be like, a lot has happened to these people, by the way, in a short span of time. And there was other things I wanted to bring. Did you love Cordelia's random moment? Just like her shining moment. I thought it was that's all she's in it, and I thought she was brilliant. That was such a perfectly Cordelia-esque thing to do.
But I do wonder though, because yes, it was perfectly Cordelia, and I love the comments of like, oh, and we think we've got problems, like
Yeah.
Cordelia is the biggest bad of the entire season. But it was interesting because the way she seemed to be listening to them, I can't help but wonder if she knows more than she's letting on, but she's just like she just doesn't care.
I was thinking, even if she did know, I don't think Cordelia cares because it doesn't affect her, which is weird because it does
Yeah.
affect her because she's been in danger so many times. But that is also kind of the thing that makes me laugh as well, is how all of these things happen and no one really mentions Buffy or I mean, the bullies in the last episode did say, she likes to beat people up. So people are aware the fact that she fights, but no one really knows the exact extent. And you think, how many of you have been put in danger and you just subconsciously just block it? But I guess that's a
Yes.
human trait. I guess that's a human trait, especially for this show, because come on, no one goes into that library. Why does no one go into this library? The only ones we see
It's
go
a
into it are
beautiful library.
vampires. And the
Yeah.
only ones we see go into it are vampires because Darla was in the back, which means,
Yeah.
like, and that made me laugh, by the way, because in my
Yeah.
head I was thinking, so vampires will come into the library, but you students won't?
I mean, damn. No, but I did think that was a nice thing because it calls back to her being invited into the building in
Yeah.
the first episode, and that's why she's
But
still
it's
able
a
to
school. I
enter.
don't think they need to be invited. And if there's a motto on the school or as a school, if there's or it's a school, I don't think you have to be invited in. I think it's if it's a person's personal property. A school is a public place. It's not a private
Do you think
land.
so?
I don't know. I mean, this is me just guessing here, and it's something we can have a debate about. But it's something that I imagine because she never. Oh, I guess she did get invited by that guy, but I don't know because I feel like because it's a school and it's a public for like place and it's about education. If you seek something, you can enter. But I don't know because again, we've only seen Darla uh, at the school, right? We haven't seen any other vampire. So maybe you're right. Maybe you are right. Maybe because she was invited by the clearly much older gentleman than his age was portraying. But yeah, no, it's something like that was really intriguing because it really adds a layer as well of how intelligent Darla is, that she went to seek out Buffy. Then she heard that she was going to study for another 30 minutes. So the first thing she did was go to her house. And within that span of
Yeah.
time, she was able to flip everything around. And you think,
Yeah.
whoa, that was actually very smart. And then another thing that I found interesting, and it's not in a good way, a bad way, it doesn't matter what way it is, but the Anointed One's weird voiceover thing that they did, where I'm guessing it's
Yeah,
supposed to be a demon voice mixed in with a child's voice, so that it
yeah, it
highlights
was
that he's
coming and going. It
powerful.
was a bit weird.
It was weird, and it's only because, like, again, when you point it out, because I have to admit, every time I hear that, even no matter how many times I see this show, I do go, that was an interesting choice. Obviously, they were trying to figure out what to do, like with the voice and how to build up the character. And I really like the moment where you were talking about him usurping the master. I thought that was really nice because he really was manipulating him in that moment. The innocence of a child, but how easily he was able to manipulate the master to calm him down when his so-called favorite child just died. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a really good comment you made there because it is true. It's like, watch your back. because I mean you can clearly sense the manipulation.
Yeah, no, and I mean it's so clear because they take each other out so easily. Like they say there's a connection, but there isn't really. They're all demons at the end of the
Yeah, at
day.
the
If
end
they
of the
don't have
day,
a
yeah.
soul, there's no conscience to hold them to each other. So it's you can't just assume you're safe with someone. But yeah, that was interesting. There was something else I wanted to mention. Was it something about Darla? Oh, yes. So it was interesting to me because they meant, as you said, she created Angel. So it begs the question, do you have to be like a certain age to be able to transform your face, or is it a certain subsection of vampires? Because they're the only two that we've seen so far who are able to transform their faces. We don't know if the master maybe can, but just is not interested in doing it because he's not out and about. He has no reason to blend in.
That's a
So
really good point. Really,
it's
really
kind
good
of
point.
interesting.
I feel like with age, probably the ability to transform your face back and forth is easier. But I guess maybe it's also to highlight the intelligence of them, so you separate them from the other vampires that don't change their face. I feel like that's what they're doing right now, which is the workers, the soldiers, the fodder do not change their face, but the ones that are important are the ones that can go back and forth because they have lines as well. They speak, that there's defining moments for them. There's a build of characterization. I feel like that's what they're trying to do in these episodes, which is show that there's more to Darla than just the fact that she was a vampire. It was she turned angel, and then the master said he had known her for 400 years around that. So she's older than Angel, so she has her own history and things like that. And being able to transform back and forth is also something that really intrigues an audience. But you're not going to give it to a random vampire, really,
Yeah.
because it's no point. But I would imagine, I guess it's also maybe the want. Maybe if you want to blend in, you're able then to transform your face, but you have to really focus, and it's something that you train with.
Yeah, I
Oh,
would
they're not
think
the only
so
one.
because
Not the only one. Do you remember you just reminded me. Do you remember that vampire that dies in episode 1 who takes Willow to the graveyard? He's got a regular
yes,
face
he
and then it becomes a
also
vamp face. But he had lines
that's
and he
interesting.
spoke. Again, I think it's to do with if you have a sort of importance to the story that they will let you transform your face, otherwise you don't matter. But he went very quickly. He was gone. Thomas, that was his name.
That's interesting. I do wonder about that. Okay, anyway, I think that's everything. I hope so.
Just another thing, did you like the moment with the there's a couple of things before we go. Sorry, audience. Which
Oh
is
no.
did you like the moment with the chain to show that though he was in pain when he was kissing Buffy because she had the cross around her neck, that he was allowing
Yeah.
to accept the pain of everything? I thought that was shows, especially if you forget about the age and stuff like that and go into the romance side of it, that he's willing to burn for her, I guess, to hurt
Oh,
for her.
that's such emo boyfriend vibes.
What can I say? I was a goth at one point.
Um, yeah, I mean I didn't think that far about it. I was just feeling sorry for him.
Oh, that was nice. I didn't expect that from you,
About the
just because obviously knowing he's a vampire and the age thing, but I guess that's how well they portray their moments when they're together, that he's able to make you
yeah,
feel like that for him.
yeah. Yeah,
And
I
then there was
mean
two.
like yeah, sorry.
No, no, please go. Please go. Please go.
Yeah, no, so I didn't think particularly about it that way, but it was a striking moment.
There was two other things, which was I really like the design of the vampire faces. I don't know if you've noticed, but every single one of them looks different when they transform with their faces, or if you look at their vamp
Yeah, they
face.
do.
And
But
I
my
appreciate that so much, a lot.
But am I wrong? Because to me, it seemed like Darla's face had changed
From the first episode.
from the yes,
Yeah,
like the
I
design
yeah.
of the
Well, I
first.
would yeah, I would imagine so because of however long they were filming, they probably were trying to like decide how to create it and go along with it. And probably Joss Whedon did say, could we do this, do that? You know, because obviously before you do an episode, everyone comes together who works in the crew, who does like storyboard telling, and executive producers, they come and they explain like their storyboard stories, and they have a meetings usually a week before. So they probably came together and Joss was like, I'd like to change the design of her look. Because you're right, it is
Not you
different.
calling out the entertainment industry
Oh, sorry.
a
I've
week
done this.
before.
Yeah, no, I've done this where I've had to do storyboard meetings and stuff like that before we film. And it's probably him just saying, you know, could you tweak this? Because it was more prominent. You know, the bone arches were more sunken in and things like that. And I
Yeah,
just
that
really
was very
appreciate it
prominent.
because she looks, for me, she looks more fierce than what Angel looks like. But the way the actor looks when they do that, it's great as well because he looks really good. And I've told you this already. I really like the whole vamp transformation and the look of it. But then that's because I like the vampires and the macabre and stuff like that. So I find that really intriguing. And then obviously the master is so bat-like. And obviously we know the
Yeah.
reference of who he's supposed to look like, but it's so great. And I just really appreciate
His
that
teeth,
because,
oh my
oh, I
goodness.
love it. I know your face when he kind of stuck his tongue out and did all of that, and I was like, actually, it's brilliant. That was it. What do you think of the master?
Um, he's not as scary as he thinks he is.
Well, he's very pantomime. I don't know if you
Yeah,
know
no,
about.
no,
Yeah.
like, and I don't mean to say that he's not dangerous. Don't get me wrong,
Oh no, that's a
but
different thing. That's a different thing.
but I feel like he has been very used to being at the top of the food chain. So
Mm.
even if it's not the boy that ends up usurping him, I do feel like he might not always come out on top, and it's not just going to be from Buffy's side.
Okay.
It just,
Yeah,
I don't know, it just, he seems very comfortable where he's at, and that's is never a good thing if you're a bad guy.
I just love Mark Metcalf who plays the master's acting. I just love it. It's so dramatic, but in such a
It's
good way. I just absolutely love it. And then another thing, and I don't know how correct this is something that I'm curious if David, who plays Angel, did this intentionally. I can sense, and maybe it's because I'm a part Irish, I can sense an Irish lilt to when he says certain words. So
oh
I found that very intriguing when he spoke, because obviously they speak about Angel being from Ireland. That's where he's originally from. Like Giles was saying that. And it's only when Giles said that because when I first ever saw this, I thought I was absolutely the only person who thought this, because anytime I've discussed it with someone or I've ever seen like groups that talk about it online, you know, no one really mentions it. But as a kid, I always heard this Irish lilt, very light, but I heard it. So before I even found out what Angel was and that he was Irish, I was like, oh, I think he's supposed to be Irish, and I was correct. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe David didn't do this, and it's just me picking up. But it sounds like every so often he says something more the Irish way, and like just the tone
I
and like a
mean,
lilt of it. It's very subtle though, very subtle.
that would be really cool if they put that much attention to detail in it. Then it would, like, that would be so nice.
I mean, I don't know if
Because
I'm
you
correct, by
rarely
the
ever
way.
see
I
that.
don't know if I'm
Yeah, but
correct.
I mean, if you are, that would be so cool.
Yeah, because it was just something I picked up. And again, coming from like a part Irish background that I do, I hear an Irish accent or a lilt or a light, subtle Irish moment or phrasing all the time throughout my whole life. I've heard it, and it was just something that I picked up on, and I was like, if that is what he's done, and what obviously the director, which I can't remember who directed this episode, would have to look it up. That's very smart. If that is
Yeah,
the case,
that's very
because that
cool.
is an extreme attention to detail, especially
Yeah.
for this reveal in this episode. And it's just
Yeah,
little
I mean,
moments I wanted to bring up. Just that.
and especially considering it's the first season, like
Yeah.
I feel as if as with most things, you know, you're perfecting your craft and everything like that. you don't necessarily maybe put all that effort into a first season
Yeah,
if you're not
exactly.
already very far on the road of perfecting
Yeah,
your craft.
especially if you don't even know there's going to be a season 2. Why
Yeah.
would you do that if you? Because I don't think at this point they would have known there would have been a season 2. Not at this point, because it was a mid-season replacement for another show. So I don't think they had, especially because it's about vampires and a teen girl fighting them. People, it's the 90s. They're not going to have that much faith in that idea. So if that is the case, that is brilliant on their part. If not, I picked up on some weird thing that was not there, but I in my mind it worked. But yeah,
I mean,
I
I
think
pick up on many things that aren't there, so
I do that
I'm
all
the
the
wrong
time.
person to ask.
I personally really like this episode. I was never always in love with it like a lot of people are, but actually sitting back and watching this again today, I realized how much I really enjoyed it, how much that it adds to the show, especially the character of Angel, and also a little bit of a lore mistake that they made, which was the vampire was able to get his hand in the door, which we know was clearly a mistake because when he says you have to invite them in, which was smart because Buffy literally, like, just before they get to the door like this, invites him in, which I think is very well done. But yeah, it's such a brilliant show, such a strong episode considering I think you've enjoyed a few of the other episodes. I would place this probably, oh, maybe over rewatch right now. I might place this behind The Witch. It would have been behind the first 2 episodes, but after today, I think I'm going to put it behind The Witch, yeah.
Yeah,
Witch.
that for me that's pretty much the same. I think The Witch is still the strongest one for me.
Yeah, I think so too. It's so much
Then
fun.
yeah, then it's this one, and then it's the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, I think we're in agreement, but people will find out when we do our season 1 thoughts and episode rankings.
Oh
Okay,
goodness,
everyone.
okay.
Oh, okay, everyone. Thank you for watching episode 7 with us, and we will be back soon with episode 8.